Hi everyone, my name is Ryder, and as you can see, I safely made it back home to Boston. Well, maybe you can't see because I'm just filming laying down in my bed because I'm really tired, but I made it back home safely for my mission trip to Turkey. I got back late last night on Wednesday, and I'm recording this on Friday afternoon. So I just want to talk about, like how things have been. I think the last time I made a video diary entry that I recorded, it was on Friday last week. So since then, we did our final show on Saturday. It was back to the first park that we went to, because God led us to go there. And I had a really good conversation with a young man there. And I got to share my testimony during the show, and it seemed to impact him. And then we talked a little bit longer, and then he had to get going, but he did follow me on one of my social media accounts, and I'm hoping that we could keep in touch. And outside of that, though, like everything else like went really well. That was our last show. And then on Sunday, it was really just like a travel day. We flew back from Antalya to Istanbul in the afternoon, but we had to leave pretty early so that we could get there and get our flight. And then they had me because because like most other people from there were just connecting to flights directly home, but I wanted to stay for a couple more days. So I had booked my ticket to go home for like Wednesday afternoon. So I, was able to stay at the taco office at Istanbul, and it was just me there for a few days. So on Monday, I just kind of rested because I was so tired and so worn out after everything that was going on. And then, um, what else happened? And then on Tuesday, like me and Jordan and Krista, like they, like we went and they took me to some places where I could do some touristy things. So I, wasn't able to do a lot of that stuff while we had our shows and stuff going on because I needed to conserve my energy because, with the autism that I live with, like my battery depletes quicker than other people's, is what I've realized. So whenever we have time, it's like, oh, well, you could go out and get food, like, like go out for like bubble tea or baklava or this or that, or you could rest. I'm like, I'm gonna rest. Like, I'm gonna stay in my room and sleep for 2 extra hours. But I did have that time on Tuesday to do a couple touristy things, so they went with me to see a couple of the mosques in Turkey. The first one was the Blue Mosque, and we were able to go inside, and it was really beautiful. Like, it had all of these like kind of stained glass windows and mosaic effects and intricate carvings and stuff on the inside. Like, it was beautiful. I wish I could have just like laid on the floor and just stared at the ceiling, but there were so many people, and that would have just blocked the flow of foot traffic, and I probably would have gotten stepped on accidentally like several times. But it was really, really beautiful. We also went to see the Hagia Sophia, which was like right down the street, like 2 minutes away. So we didn't go inside because you would have had to pay the equivalent of $30 in Turkish lira to get inside, and I didn't want to do that. I'd rather have the money to get some souvenirs for folks. So we just looked at it from the outside, and we had like, like a quick snack for lunch, and then they took me to some shops nearby where I got some like, souvenirs to bring back home for folks. Prior to that, the only souvenirs I had gotten was a couple of books from the Ictus Cafe that share testimonies of, like Turkish believers, like people that recently came to faith in their testimonies. So I got a couple copies of those, one of them that I could keep, and then I got two more that I could bring back and donate to the church library where I go. So I did that. But outside of that, I hadn't gotten like any souvenirs. So I, like they took me to some shops. I was able to get a Turkish lamp. That's really cool. And I got something for the pastor at the church that I go to, and something for my mom. Maybe I can show you the lamp without spoiling what else I got, hopefully. Let's see. I don't know if you can see, and maybe the sound is like really muffled right now, but this is the lamp that I got. And it's like really, really cool. The only thing that I did not realize when I got it is, like I realized that I could have gotten like a Turkish lamp on Amazon for maybe just like a couple dollars more, but I really wanted to get a lamp from Turkey just so that I could, when if people like come to my home and they like, like where I live with roommates and they see it in my room, and it's like then I can say like, hey, like I got this at the end of my first time out of the country on that mission trip I went to in Turkey, like, so I got it from a little shop in Istanbul along with like a couple other things, and the only thing that I did not realize is that because it is a Turkish lamp, it has a Turkish plug, like the thing with like the two like prongs that aren't like our things, like they're more like two pins. So I have a converter that I used over there to convert from like a Turkish power outlet to a US power outlet, but now for this lamp I'll need to get something that converts a US power outlet to a Turkish power outlet so that I can use this lamp. So I'll probably need to get something like that at some point so I can use it, but in the meanwhile it's still beautiful even without it being lit up, so I just have it on my desk as a decoration now. And yeah, and then the final thing that I did was I got a couple of goodies. Jordan and Krista, like, went with me to the Spice Bazaar. So I guess there's two big bazaars in Istanbul. The first one is the Grand Bazaar, which has a bunch of other things. Like, it has, like sweets and spices and coffee and tea and stuff, but it also has things like lamps and ceramics and like purses and stuff like that. And the Spice Bazaar had stuff like that too, but it's a bit smaller and it's more for like food and coffee and stuff. And I had already gotten like the ceramics and the lamp that I wanted, so at that point it was really just getting some smaller souvenirs for the people that give towards the trip, that donated towards the trip, so that I was able to go. So I got some souvenirs, it was like some keychains and bookmarks, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to distribute them. I need to ask, Pam, I think, for like the list of the people that give towards the trip so that I can make sure that I do that properly. I also got a couple, like canisters of Turkish coffee, one that I could bring back to the church that I go to, and one for the people at the office that I work out of. And I also got 2 boxes of Turkish Delights, like the candy that's really popular there, one to bring to the office that I work out of, and one to bring to the church on Sunday that I go to. And for the souvenirs, like, I didn't realize it, like, until I was talking with, like, Krista, but she kind of explained to me, because some of the people that give towards the trip are, like, from a church in Chicago, and I had never met them. Pam just helped me and sent out, like, my picture and a copy of my letter over to them, and so many people from there give towards the trip, and it's like, well, how can I mail them something? And then I realized, like, those nice bookmarks that they have, like, Krista explained to me, like, those would be easy to send in the mail with, like, a letter. So I want to do that. So like, I got a bunch of bookmarks and a bunch of keychains, and I figured that, like, the bookmarks will be, like, mailed, and then, like, keychains I can give to people that I see in person. So yeah, and that was kind of my final day. Then on Wednesday in the morning, Jordan helped me get back to the airport, so we took a train and then one of those coach buses, and then I was at the airport and he helped me get through the first part of the airport. Like, he was with me as long as he could be there, and then, I was at passport control and he couldn't come any further than that, but, he was a huge help because the airport was stressful for me. Like, like the smaller airports, like the one in Frankfurt wasn't too stressful, or the one in Antalya, but the Istanbul airport was so confusing and stressful for me, and I guess it's the largest airport in all of Europe, and I think it's the 3rd largest airport in the world, which nobody told me before I went on this trip, so, like, but I feel like if someone had told me I would have been so scared leading up to it. So it was more like navigate it, and then after the fact, oh, you navigated the largest airport in all of Europe on your own as an autistic man. It's like, okay, ah. But like it wasn't as confusing like coming in as it was leaving. So yeah, and then I was able to find my gate and get on the plane, and everything was good. Then there was the connecting flight that I had, which was a little bit stressful because I only had, I think, like an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes, and it already took like 20 minutes to get off the plane because everybody takes forever to get their luggage out and move. Like, I mean, like, I'm just gonna be real. Like, I get if someone is like older or they have a disability, why they need extra time, but like, if somebody is like an able bodied adult, how does it take so long just for you to pull your suitcase out and walk? Like, just pull it out and move. I don't know why it takes like 20 to 30 minutes just to get everybody off the plane. Like, to me, that's crazy. Um, but yeah. And so, like, then I really only had, I think, like, an hour, and even then the boarding was going to start in like 30 minutes, so I had to hightail it, and I didn't even know which gate I was going to go to. I asked one of the staff at the airport in Germany, because that's where my connecting flight was. It was from Istanbul to Frankfurt, Germany, and then from Frankfurt, Germany to Boston. So I asked one of the staff there where I was supposed to go. They scanned my ticket, they told me my gate because I didn't see it up on like the boards. So that was a huge help, and it turned out that my gate was all the way at the back. Like, there were like different terminals like A, B, C, and Z. So I was in Z, which fine, whatever. But then it's like it goes from, I think, like Z1 to Z69. The gate I was going into was Z69 all the way at the back. So even with the travelators, which were a lot of fun, like I had to hightail, like I was power walking, and then at the end I was starting to run when I saw my gate. And it hadn't started boarding yet. I had a few minutes, but I was getting so antsy and I was worried that I was going to miss it. And then something crazy happened. And I don't know if this is normal for airports. Like, this was my first time out of the country. But basically, like, as I saw my gate, like other people walked past, but then like one of the staff that was driving through on one of those like car things, he like pulled out some barriers so that there was like this choke point that you had to go through with just these two gates with two staff, and they needed to screen your boarding passes again. And at the Istanbul airport, I had to go through security twice, which fine. And then at the airport in Frankfurt, Germany, I had to go through security again, and even though I had filled up my water bottle at the airport in Istanbul, I had to empty it again and fill it up again. So it's like I had to go through security 3 times, and then this wasn't like, well, I guess 4 if you count them searching my bag again when I got to my gate at Istanbul. So I went through security like 4 times, which was kind of crazy. And then it was just like, because there was this choke point, like there were all these people that needed to get to connecting flights, and we were all getting antsy, and there was only 2 people that were scanning boarding passes, and they're like, why can't you just let us go? And thankfully, because I have very good attention to detail, when I saw what was going on, and I knew I couldn't like go through, like I just managed to kind of like squeeze my way through to kind of like the front of the swarm of people by the gates. So I just kind of like managed to sneak in. I think it helped that I didn't have like a rolling carry-on bag. It was more like a shoulder bag and my backpack, and also like I'm used to kind of having to like bob and weave between crowds of people just getting around in Boston, for errands or my work or whatever, because if you just get stuck behind people walking slowly, it's going to take you 3 days to get anywhere. So you got to learn how to pass people and bob and weave in between crowds of people, or you're not going to get anywhere in a timely way. So I managed to get to the front of the queue. Even then, it was still like a few minutes of me waiting, like 6 or 7 minutes, and I was like very close to the front. There was like a swarm of people behind me. It was wild. But then I got past and everything was good. And I remember at first I was like, can I just like sneak through? But then there was one guy that had the same thought as me, like this older guy, and he just like went not through the gate, but just like went around. And at first, like like one of the staff that was scanning the passes just like left, so everyone else was just waiting and was like, "Sir, you can't do that. You need to come back." And he was like, "I'm not doing that." But then like she literally called security, and then the security was like pulled him off to the side and was like talking to him. Like I have no clue what happened, because a few like a minute or two after, like my boarding pass was scanned and I bolted for my gate, and it was like I had like 3 or 4 minutes before boarding, so I was like, because I like ran, and then I was like a little out of breath, and I got to the like woman that was at the desk, and I was like, "Am I in the right place?" She's like, "Yes, and your seat is here," and this and that. I was like, "Okay, thank you. There's nothing else I need to do." She's like, "No, just take a seat, relax, like, your seat is here, it's a good seat, your boarding class is 6." And I was like, "That's fine, I'm just happy to be here, I'm glad I didn't miss my flight." And then the boarding actually started a little later than the ticket said anyway, so, like, I don't know what happened to everybody else that was swarmed around the gate or why they did that, but that was, like, really stressful. But then I got on my flight, and, I went home. One thing that was funny is I did have, like, two really good conversations with strangers on my way home on each of the flights. The first one was while I was waiting to board in Istanbul, and the second one was on the plane with the person that was sitting next to me on the flight to Boston. Um, so that was really cool. And then I got back, and then, you know, there was some wandering around. Like at the Logan airport, it was a lot clearer, like where to go and what to do than the Istanbul airport. Maybe it's because more things were in English. Maybe it was just because it's smaller. Like I don't know, but like I went to passport control, and it was a big line, but the line was moving, so I never felt like too antsy. And they just asked me like a couple of questions, like why I was there, but nothing too big. And I was just like, yeah, well, like I've been staying here with friends, and like they're very creative people, and we did some street performances, and I juggle and make balloon animals, and then he let me go. Oh, he did ask like, how do I have friends in Turkey? And I was like, well, we met online, and like all of that. And he was like, what were you doing? And I said that, and also like sightseeing, and he let me go, and that was the end of that. So yeah. And then I got my bag. I saw my bag on the boat right away. I was worried that it wasn't going to come, and then I was going to have like laundry that I needed to do like a different day, because I wanted to go home and do my laundry like first thing. So that was the. But thankfully it was there. I saw it because I picked a bright red bag with a luggage tag that has a dinosaur on it. So I saw it and I knew immediately. I'm like, that's my bag. Um, so it was like going on the other side, so I just kind of hopped on the other side of the belt and waited for it to come around, and then I just yoinked it off the belt, and I was like, this is mine, bye. So then I took my bag, then I left the airport. The most confusing thing, honestly, was I was going to take an Uber home because I didn't feel like taking like public transit with this huge bag, and I was so tired because I had been traveling from like between the travel to the airport and back. Like I had been traveling from like 9 a.m. Istanbul time to literally like the time getting out of the airport. I think like 8:30 or 9 p.m. Like yeah, like 9 p.m. like Boston time or something. Like it was a lot of travel, and I was exhausted, so I took an Uber home, and I needed help figuring out where they'd pick us up for like rideshare apps, but eventually figured it out after asking some people that looked like they worked at the airport for help. Then I took my Uber home. I got home, and like I did my laundry, because we had laundry where we were staying at the guest house in Antalya, but it's like for the longest time only the dryer was working, and we had to wash things by hand, which was fine. But I was like, when I get home, I'm like, I just want to be able to throw all my stuff in the washing machine. So I did all of my laundry, like all the clothes that I had with me, I just washed all of them. I also washed my juggling bean bags because I had used them for outside shows, and normally I practice indoors, so they were a little dirty and I could kind of feel that, so I wanted to wash those as well. Like I paid my share of the rent for August and my student loan payment because I didn't want to worry about that on payday, which is today. And like I organized my day planner, like just a lot of bits and bobs that I want to take care of. By the time I was done with all of that, it was like midnight and I was tired, and I realized that I hadn't eaten anything except for that meal that they served us on the plane like that day. So, and some snacks. So I hadn't had a real meal for like a really long time. Um, and by that point, like, everything was closed and I really didn't have much to make dinner. Like, I guess I forgot that I had some of those like microwave meals in the freezer. Like, I literally forgot about that because I had been gone for so long. And like, I eat like a lot of fruits and veggies and meat and stuff, and that stuff goes bad. So my fridge was pretty much empty. Like, I had made sure to empty it so I didn't come home to like rotting food and nastiness in the fridge. So like, I did all of that. So I didn't have a whole lot in the house to make, so I just ordered food. It wound up being a little more expensive than I thought it would be, but it was just some like Chinese takeout from a place that I ordered from years ago. The food is like okay, like like it's pretty good, but like it's more like the kind of Chinese takeout that you order if it's like midnight and you're hungry and you have nothing in the house. So yeah. And it was good, and I got a bubble tea and all that, and then I went to bed and I slept for like how long? I think only like 5 or 6 hours, and I woke up the next day, and then like I on Thursday yesterday, like I ordered groceries, and like I went to the store and bought some rotisserie chickens because I can't get those delivered from Amazon, and I didn't feel like doing meal prep and cooking a big batch of chickens, so just getting a bunch of rotisserie chickens and eating those was easier. So I got my groceries, put those away, got all my food for the week, so laundry was taken care of, groceries were taken care of. I didn't need to clean my room or anything because I had cleaned it before I left. So all that was taken care of, and on Wednesday I had trimmed my nails because I didn't bring nail clippers with me, so they had just been growing out for a few weeks and they were getting a little long, and I like to normally keep my nails very short because if I'm juggling and I'm doing stuff where like I'm crossing and uncrossing my arms where I'm juggling, like doing like 3-4 balls like Mills Mass or something, then like you can scratch yourself, especially if you have longer nails. So I like to keep my nails very short. And you don't need long nails to break balloons when you're doing balloon twisting or anything either. It's more like a pulling motion with like the pads of your fingers versus your nails. So yeah, so I did that, and then yesterday, like I also like took a shower, and like I take a shower every day, but normally I wash my hair like twice a week, and every 2 weeks I'll so normally when I wash my hair it's just with the shampoo twice a week, but once every 2 weeks I'll use some conditioner for the dreadlocks, and I palm roll them and separate them, and I hadn't been able to do that while I was on tour, just because like I didn't have like all my fancy like hair care stuff with me, so I was able to do that, and I finally had like my beard oil and stuff again for my beard, and like I just feel like a lot cleaner and more like pampered and refreshed, and yeah. And then I went to bed pretty early yesterday. I think my body is still adjusting to like the change in time because everything in Turkey was 7 hours ahead of where I am now in Boston. So I wound up falling asleep I think at like 7 p.m. and I woke up at like 2 in the morning. So that's like 7 hours sleep, but I've also been up since like 2 a.m. But I feel like I have a decent amount of energy. So I think my challenge just for like today, because I don't have anything to do today on Friday, and I don't have anything going on Saturday because that's the day I observe as the Sabbath. Like my plan is just to try and stay up a little bit later and wake up a little bit later, just so that I can get used to like the time difference now. So yeah. And outside of that though, like like I'm feeling pretty good, like everything, like I've gotten settled in very quickly. I was able to unpack and get my laundry done and food and clean up and all of that, so I've settled in quite nicely. I think the only thing is just like I'm feeling a little tired and still a little disoriented because I was out of the country for like 3 weeks, so it's also just like getting used to being back home and remembering where all my stuff is, and even though I'm a very organized person, and also just kind of feeling a little disoriented, like sometimes like I feel like I'm like kind of like, where am I? And my body is kind of like, ooh, you know. So still just feeling like a little bit disoriented, a little tired, a little foggy, but I'm hoping that I come out of that over the next couple days before I have to come into work on Monday. So you know, like I let like my mom and the pastor at the church I go to know that I got home safely, and the people from Taco as well. And you know, I'm just gonna try and rest and take it easy. So I'm also taking a break from juggling for the next few weeks, at least for the month of August, just so that my body and my brain can have a break, and maybe I'll have some time to explore some other hobbies, you know, because I was really training so much so that I could do something like this, and I want to go back to training, like, you know, because I really do want to come back to Turkey and tour with Taco again if I can, you know, like, God willing. So I do want to, you know, continue to juggle, continue to do the balloons, continue to balance things on my face, but I realize that I don't need to push myself so hard, because I'm at a place where, like, I can do all these things now, so that I could be part of the team and part of the tour and contribute in a creative manner as well. So I don't think I need to push myself so hard. So, but, you know, before I like dive back into training and stuff, like, I want to just take a month, give my body and my brain a break, and maybe take some time to just enjoy life a little bit more, have some extra time in the morning for prayer and reading my Bible, because I read my Bible every day, but just having a little bit of extra time for that and to pray and stuff before brushing out the door, like, I think that'll be nice. So I just kind of want to take it a little bit easier and maybe give myself some time to explore some other hobbies. But with all that being said, I know I've been talking a lot during this, and these video diary entries, I hope that they're at least somewhat coherent, because I feel like I'm recording them when I'm, like, tired kind of out of it. But, you know, like, thank you if you took the time to watch this, for watching this. And I did just want to say that, you know, like, I am going to be presenting about the trip, like a short version of it and how it went, at the church that I go to during the service on Sunday morning. So my hope is that I can ask someone at the church to, like, record it on my phone so that I could upload it on YouTube and on TikTok. Well, actually, because it'll be longer, it makes more sense, and it'll be horizontal if it's the way that I want it to be. That I can post it on YouTube and share with people. So my hope is that, you know, like, then I'll have that recording and I can share it with all of you on social media as well. But with all that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to watch these videos and to follow me on this journey, and for all of your prayers and support. And for now, take care, stay safe, have a wonderful rest of the day, and know that Jesus loves you, and I love you too. Bye-bye.